Hey y'all, welcome back to Twin Oaks Farm in rural southeast Ohio, USA. It's day 35 of raising our broilers, the flock of Cornish cross chickens that are being raised for meat production. So in this video today, we're going to talk about a couple of terms that are relevant not only to meat production chickens, but to all production agriculture, livestock, cull and terminal. So we're going to talk about those two terms. Also, this is really our first look inside the barn on the morning of day 35. So you're seeing what I'm seeing, recording it, in real time. Going to upload it onto our YouTube channel, Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. By the way, thank you for joining us on the YouTube channel, and please subscribe if you haven't. As you're watching the video, we hope you'll give it a thumbs up. We hope you like it. If you dislike it, give it a thumbs down. We appreciate your feedback either way. But what's different about today also is we normally have lighting on our birds 24/7 because we raise them on a short production cycle, and they naturally settle into a circadian rhythm based on their conditions. And so their typical routine is to rest a lot, but about every 4 hours or so to get up and go eat and go drink, and that's when they manure, and they just kind of repeat that cycle. And keeping them eating throughout the 24-hour period allows us to finish the birds in 6 weeks on 10 pounds of feed average per bird. But sometimes when the flocks really thrive, it's favorable to kind of regulate how quickly they're eating. And in fact, a lot of advice typically given to people who are new to raising Cornish cross meat chickens, advice that we heard and took when we first started doing this, was after they're about a week old, you've given them free choice, full-on feed up to a week old, and then after that, only give them feed 12 hours of the day on, and then take feed away 12 hours. So we don't follow that advice. We learned that the birds become so hungry in the 12 hours off feed part that when you go to put feed back in, it's like they turn into crazy piranhas, and we don't like that. It's really not good for our birds because it creates a lot of stress where they're growing and creates a lot of stress in them. And actually, stress in broilers can set into motion heart problems that end up causing them to die before the end of production. So we don't want that. And it created a lot of stress for us as well. So we leave feeders in their pen all the time and try to leave them with some feed in them all the time and not let them eat them completely empty. But this flock is really growing well. They got ahead of their target feed consumption range. So we did apply the 12 on, 12 off feed practice last night from day 34 to day 35, but we didn't do it by pulling feeders out of the pen. We did it by turning off their overhead light. So we turned off their overhead light a little bit before dusk, closed up the barn, observed them, made sure that it didn't set them into some kind of strange behavior, and it didn't. And when it's dark, chickens are inactive because they don't see well. So that basically, with having no light, that basically applied a 12-hour off feed period. So when we turn the lights off before dusk and close the barn, and then some natural light filters in our barn because it's kind of a rustic type of structure. So as it gradually got dark, they settled, and then this morning it would have gradually got light. So sunlight is filtered in, but I've opened up the doors enough to where you can see the view of swinging them open. So you're going to see their reaction to more light coming into their building. So the hope is that they didn't eat their feeders empty last night. They'll have that feed for today, which was about 25 pounds. We have about 75 more pounds to add in. That should be their 100-pound feed consumption for day 35. And then we're back on track. So here we go. This door lets in the most light. This is on our east side of the building, so there's going to be a little bit of a strong reaction as they hear the door open and see strong light filter in, and we'll try to show you that. So you're not going to see a lot probably until we get the lighting better, but we've got the birds in there. So very calm, very calm. They have eaten some, but the trays are not empty. So that's a good thing. So, okay, we're going to have to continue to walk around the side of the building. So while we're doing that, a couple of those terms. Terminal means that the animal is going to be slaughtered at the end of production. And so all production, agriculture, livestock raised for meat production is considered terminal. And here we're at the second door. So let's get it open, and then we'll go to another. Then we'll get to that other term. So this is the south side of our building. So, you know, they're still pretty calm. We're starting to see some get up, see some wing flapping. There's definitely more activity where the light's coming in on that east side. And then gradually as we let more light in, there'll be more activity throughout the barn. So let's get to this front side, open the door, and we're actually going to go into the pen, turn on the overhead light, and that'll brighten things up quite a bit for them too. And then the other term that we said is cull. And so cull refers to any animal that during production, if a producer recognizes that an animal either isn't doing well, they're picking up on that light coming in. So during production, if a producer recognizes that an animal is not doing well, if the animal is suffering greatly, or the animal is posing like a pathogen disease risk to the rest of the flock, a producer may decide to cull an animal out of the flock. And that would cull in its actual sense would mean that animal was humanely slaughtered during production prior to the processing of its group. So a step down from culling is separating. And so we do try, like if we just have a bird maybe that has a sore leg or it looks a little lame, we would prefer to separate the bird first rather than cull it. But in meat chickens, if there is a bird that has lameness, they're definitely a potential candidate for culling. So, you know, the cull is kind of a soft word for a harsh reality, and terminal is again kind of a soft word for a harsh reality, but those are parts of production agriculture when animals are being produced, raised for meat production. So we're going to actually turn the overhead light on. So this is, at this point in the day, this is early morning, late September, rural Southeast Ohio, USA. At this point of the day, if we didn't have overhead light, this would be all the light for the most part that we could let in. We're going to turn the overhead light on, but I can already see, I'm trying to aim the camera at the feeders and waters. All of the feeders and waters are full. So it definitely, just the bit of light that came in, definitely triggered them to get up and eat. And so, you know, ours are raised in a building, but if you raise chickens like in a chicken tractor, you're going to naturally have, you're probably naturally going to have the 12 on, 12 off feed schedule for them because of nightfall. So in those cases, it is more likely you could raise meat chickens on like an 8-week production schedule than a 6-week production schedule. So we are going to turn the overhead light on. I am not going to point the camera at the overhead light because it's really bright. So anyway, so that'll continue to wake up more of them. I'm actually going to take a walk around the pen. So one of the things I didn't say outside, when we're first walking into the pen in the morning, we always have high hopes that all the birds are living. We do want them to make it out to processing, out to the day of processing and complete production, but there's always the possibility, the reality, the little bit of trepidation that you are going to find dead birds when you enter your poultry pen. That's not the case today, so yay for us. The good news, and I said in day 34, we've got good news, we've got bad news, and I never got around to saying the good news and the bad news. Well, the bad news on day 34 was we did lose a bird on day 34. It got on its back, so we're documenting that when it's turtled. It just got on its back and couldn't breathe and suffocated. So that was the bad news. The other bad news on day 34, and I showed y'all that, was we did pull 3 birds out of the flock. We didn't call them, but we did decide to separate them. Here they are. They're still with us. So 298 are still living. This one is the heart distress. We've got one lame there, and this one really has leg failure. It can't really get its legs underneath it very well. So they're out there to limit stress on them, give them a better shot at getting the food and water, see if we can get them through production. So that takes us down to 295 in this pen that are thriving, really doing well. We started with 305. So the good news is 295 super thriving birds. Started with 305 on August 23rd, 2023, and I think production, we usually go to 42 days, but I do think their processing day is October 6th, which will actually take this flock out to 45 days. So things are looking good, y'all. Thanks for joining us. Please join us again back at Twin Oaks Farm Poultry We have these videos to show you how chicken is raised and how the poultry that we eat is produced. Real good chicken that we eat really comes only from real live chickens. And they're raised in flocks like this. So thanks for joining us, y'all. We appreciate you. Please join us again. We love sharing our farm life and our family life with y'all at Twin Oaks Farm Poultry on YouTube. God bless you.